Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is politics reporter Sara Dorn. Sara, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
We have discussed 2024, the presidential race, at length, and I want to keep the conversation going and talk about one candidate in particular, and that's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. You and I have talked about right after midterms, the New York Post really touted him as the future. They made him look super presidential. Now things don't seem to be going his way when it comes to his campaign. According to the most recent Morning Consult tracker, he is polling at 16%, which is a very distant second place to former President Donald Trump, and he's at 59%. So why is this?
Yeah, so I didn't expect that his very glitchy Twitter campaign rollout was going to foreshadow the trajectory of his campaign, but things really seem to have gone downhill from there, and that seemed to be just the tip of the iceberg for what has been a pretty rocky campaign for DeSantis so far. He's failed to net, I believe, any congressional endorsements, maybe one, where Donald Trump, quickly swooped up endorsements from the majority of Florida's GOP delegation in Congress. He, most recently, he posted some, relatively good fundraising numbers, $20 million in the second quarter, but subsequent reporting by the New York Times, the Washington Post showed that he was burning through this cash. Had already spent 40% of it, a lot of it on private flights. That runs contrary to his anti-elitist narrative. And then he's had a number of missteps in campaigning as well. Most notably and most recently, I would say, is this very bizarre video that his campaign reposted, criticizing Donald Trump for his former statements of support for the LGBTQ community. And it showed some, cartoonishly machismo images of DeSantis, and, a number of images of shirtless men that were seen as both homoerotic and homophobic. So it's been very confusing. And, as you mentioned, the New York Post, News Corp owned publication, was very, lauded his candidacy early on before he even announced. And now, a number of Fox hosts have asked him to answer to these low polling numbers and how he expects his campaign to get back on track. So I think and there's been reporting also that Rupert Murdoch, News Corp chairman and CEO, is also losing faith in Trump. In DeSantis. So yes, things are not looking good for DeSantis right now, and I think that it's just so indicative of how these races can go, especially when you have a candidate that, yes, they may be widely liked in their state, but one state is not a reflection of the rest of the country. And, running one state is not the same as campaigning on a national stage. And you really have to, DeSantis has this block on mainstream media that he's reportedly, rethinking in the wake of these declining poll numbers. But you have to be able to reach, voters in Nevada and Washington State, and that's hard to do if you're boycotting CNN.
How is he specifically answering these really bleak poll numbers? Because before he announced, he was touted as Donald Trump without all the baggage. So what about him specifically isn't resonating with GOP voters?
Well, I think for one, it's that he is too much like Donald Trump. They're not really seeing policy-wise a difference between the two, but personality-wise, Donald Trump does have that stage presence and charisma. I mean, there's just no denying that. And there's a lot of criticism surrounding DeSantis that he does not, and he's a bit awkward or impersonal, and the impersonal criticism stretches to who you would expect to be his allies in the GOP. We've heard many Republicans say that when they've gone through personal hardships, Donald Trump has reached out to them personally, and DeSantis has ignored their calls. So I think that personability factor, that it factor when it comes to appearing on TV and appearing on stage is really a disadvantage for DeSantis compared to Trump. And the fact that he is so much like Donald Trump, or so many people see him that way, and in terms of policy, it really plays into Trump's main criticism of DeSantis, and that he made his political career, and now DeSantis is being disloyal to him by running against him.
There are also reports that DeSantis is slimming down his campaign staff. What's the reasoning that they're giving behind this restructuring? So they are, without explicitly saying we're spending too much money, we have a cash problem. They've acknowledged that they are going to spend less on event planning and fundraising, for example, and put more resources into key battleground states. Iowa, DeSantis, I think, left today or yesterday this week to embark on a 99 county tour of Iowa with the help of the Never Back Down super PAC, who is supporting his campaign. I know that 11, according to Politico, 11 of the staffers that they initially laid off were all in event planning. And that total, as we reported earlier this week, is now at 38. The campaign has acknowledged that to multiple other outlets. So that's about a third of his staff. I think that they originally started with 90 people. So yeah, definitely a slim down, a restructuring, a briefing with donors over the weekend just about how they're retooling and trying to restart this campaign. They mentioned that DeSantis was planning to sort of lift his boycott on mainstream media, and we saw that when he appeared last week in an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper. So not a lot of, I wouldn't say, explicit plans, just that they are going to try to get DeSantis out in front of voters more, roll out more policy initiatives, which they have begun to do in the last few weeks, and really hone in on Iowa and those key battleground states. So will be interesting to see if this, what they are calling an insurgent campaign now, it works better than what he has been doing. Well, only time will tell. We are about 6 months out from the Iowa caucuses, roughly. Do you see anyone in the 2024 field knocking DeSantis off of his second place perch right now? Are there any dark horses you're seeing?
Vivek Ramaswamy, biotech entrepreneur, he recently surpassed Mike Pence in polling. Mike Pence also has not qualified for the debate. I think now either 7 or 8 candidates have. So this is someone to watch. Will he be able to surpass DeSantis? Not having any political experience or having ever held elected office. I don't think so. I know that there's a lot of chatter on Wall Street, maybe about GOP mega donors putting resources behind South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. He is a senior member of the Senate Banking Committee, and he frequents banking meetings in New York, on Wall Street, and so he is friendly with that community. But the clear front runners now are Trump and DeSantis. If DeSantis is campaign. I don't think it's going to be a matter of any other campaigns necessarily improving and, making some huge push to surpass DeSantis. But if things keep getting worse and worse for him, I think that people are just going to naturally stop paying so much attention. And that may cause the poll numbers to even out a bit more in favor of other candidates.
Sara Dorn, per usual, thanks for your insights. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Brittany.